You are listening to Heroes Never Die, your one-stop spot for all the latest news, Overwatch League results, and mishaps in Overwatch. Here are your hosts, Totemly Drunk and Edinar.
What's up, guys, and welcome back to Heroes Never Die, your one-stop spot for all things Overwatch. I am your host, Tumbly Drunk, and tonight on episode 203, we're going to be taking a look back at the most recent news around Overwatch, as well as its competitive scene, before we dive into our Overwatch League preview, as hopefully we'll get our first take in regards to online matches, now that the observers and everyone at home has their at-home setups actually going on at this point. So before we get into the news and introduce you to my co-host, let me just quickly take a moment to thank everyone who is joining us tonight on Twitch for our live show, and of course thank all of our repeat listeners out there. So joining me tonight, as always, is my co-host, Edinar. Ed, I know you've had a lot going on this week. Last night you had the Mash Those Buttons throwdown, where we saw Droppin' Spicy going up against your network rivals, I guess we'd say, in Push the Point, which is another Overwatch podcast that focuses on the league. And spoilers, you guys kind of annihilated them in your game. Not so much in Overwatch, but I'm sure there's going to be plenty of trash talking involved, especially on your side of things. So really, how'd last night go, and how's the past week been treating you?
You refer to them as our equal, and they are not our equal. They are our bitches, because we dominated. So, like you said, we dominated them in Apex. They dominated us in Overwatch. I think part of that had to do with my other two co-hosts hadn't played for a couple months until about 45 minutes before the show. So that was a lot of fun. But then we went to Jackbox. Yeah, Jackbox. And won. That's where Edinar dominated, and I won the first two games in a best of three as a tiebreaker. So we came up victorious over, it was Labasco had pushed the point, Ja, who's the creator of Mash Those Buttons, and then my arch nemesis, Ramses. So we were able to stomp on them. So yeah, overall it was a lot of fun. I'm interested to do it again. It's been a good week. It's been a very good week, fun week. Hearthstone, some Overwatch, Apex. Lots of stuff going on. Working from home, watching a lot of Twitch. Mm-hmm. Like 10 hours a day at this point now. We need more streamers on at 7:30 in the morning.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Just saying.
They're not working around your at-home schedule, Ed.
If Twitch streamers are smart, they would change their schedule to be during the day, because like the people that are on are getting ridiculous numbers right now, like during the day. So it's like, because everyone's home.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's definitely would be smart for them to do it, but they're not, sadly. But yeah, how's your week been?
It's been pretty good. I've been playing a lot of Doom Eternal, as that had dropped late Thursday night. So really having a ton of fun with that. That game is everything I would expect in a Doom sequel. And I really hyped up the last incarnation of Doom that released. It was like 4 or 5 years ago at this point, and this one is absolutely worth picking up. And I know a lot of people going in were kind of skeptical in regards to, say, paying $60 for a new game. And I will say, like, the campaign is basically a 20-hour campaign, which for a first-person shooter is massive. Like, you do not get to see that really in any other FPS title out there. So I highly recommend, if you are a fan of Doom, going to pick up Eternal. It is everything that you would expect it to be, and then some. And really, I just can't wait to dive back in. But we've also had a lot of Hearthstone stuff going on, like major balance updates. We have the expansion stuff going on right now. We saw Illidan Stormrage enter in the battlegrounds along with a couple of new minions. A lot to like on that front as well. And, I'm just excited to see how Illidan is gonna, stack up against the rest of the heroes within the pool, and also seeing whether or not the Cobalt Guardian replacement is going to be involved in any late game builds, which by the looks of it is not actually the case. So goodbye Cobalt Guardian, and trying to get carried by refreshes on that front. And it feels so healthy for the game right now, knowing that a Tavern 3 minion isn't used in essentially any sort of endgame build. So that's a nice change of pace that I am over the moon about. We're here to talk about what is going on within Overwatch and this competitive scene. And as you know, last week we kind of, we held off a day because we knew that there was going to be an update coming out in regards to the new hero. So we have back-to-back weeks here where we've decided to record on Thursday. Probably going to be back to what, we usually do in regards to our schedule this next week.
100%.
And when it comes to like the news cycle, at least since this past Thursday, really not too much going on. Now, if you guys have not had a chance to hop on the public test realm, you can go test out Echo. And we have already seen a couple of changes hit the PTR, but we did get a very notable sign from our dev and savior, Papa Jeffrey Cap, praise him, who had confirmed that Echo is going to be the last character added to the Overwatch roster for the foreseeable future. Kaplan also noted that the sooner Overwatch 2 is out, the better, and he basically confirmed that there are more than half a dozen characters that are currently in production right now. Now, I know, Ed, looking back, a lot of people were essentially rolling their eyes over the fact that Echo is not a support hero. As we mentioned, we know that there's a need for tanks and support characters out there. I would not be surprised if, we'll just say, half a dozen, that being 6, if, like, say, 4 of the 6 end up being primarily those 2 particular roles.
Mm-hmm.
But, we're expecting Overwatch 2, according to the leaks, to release at some point this year. But we don't have any official release date yet penned in. But, you look at the landscape of first-person shooters right now. Valorant is getting a ton of attention. We're expecting a lot of news to be coming out with that in regards to the first week of April, because that's due out in the summer. I really hope the dev team is going to push for a beta release around the same time. And, going into Overwatch 2, we kind of had a little bit of concern over what the patch cycle was going to look like leading up to the release of the sequel. Because a lot of people were expecting, okay, we're really not going to get anything between now and Overwatch 2, but now we have the new hero. And now it seems like the full drive has been given towards the production of Overwatch 2. So are you at all concerned about the fact that we're not going to be seeing anything else really added to the game outside of, weekly challenges here and there, as well as things incorporated into, say, something like the experimental card?
I mean, we may see stuff with the experimental card. But it's one of those things where I don't expect to get anything new, because like you said, Valorant is probably coming out in the summer, and that's when I expect the beta to be out, is like late June, early July, which is in 3 months, we weren't going to get a new hero in the next 3 months. So our new content is going to be the beta for Overwatch 2. That is what I fully expect it to be. So, all right, listeners, answer this question. Which of these three men were voted people's sexiest man alive during the 1990s? Gary Oldman, Jeffrey Rush, George Clooney. Can be more than one, can be none, can be all three, whatever. If you get one right, you're smarter than Ramses. So, no, but I do fully expect the beta to come out end of June, early July, for a release in probably October. That's what I'm thinking of. October, mid to late October, right when we would be getting BlizzCon, but we're not going to have BlizzCon this year. Like, they have not confirmed it. I don't have any insider knowledge, but it usually would have been announced by now. They have an easy out with COVID-19, like where people can just be like, yeah, no, that's the right decision without bitching too much. And 3, it's already booked up. So yeah, it's basically, yeah, I think that's the timeline we're looking at. So, and I agree with you. If we get 6 new heroes, I actually probably think 5 of them will be tanker support, and then we'll get 1 DPS. Then people will complain about why did we get more DPS? Because it's the community.
Well, I just like how, based off of what we've been hearing from Kaplan at this point, we kind of expected like 3 or 4 new heroes, and now all of a sudden it's half a dozen. So we're actually going to be getting more than what we were initially expecting, at least out of the gate, it looks like, for Overwatch 2, whenever that should release. So it's a pleasant surprise and not one that I was really expecting to see here.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting 6. I was expecting 3 to 4. 6, very pleasant. I mean, it is a new game, so it does make sense that they would be going to like releasing a bunch of new heroes. Yeah, I think it's going to tie a lot into the PvE storyline aspect of everything. So that's where I see them going with it, and releasing them more around the new storyline, stuff like that.
Yeah, so I'm just anxious to see what the other new heroes will be outside of Sojourn, who we already know is going to be one of the new heroes. And, looking at what else is going on in the game, as I mentioned, Echo is on the PTR right now, and we already have a new patch that was deployed to the PTR that did include some balance changes to the character. So this new patch actually hit the PTR on Wednesday, that would be yesterday, and they reduced the explosion damage of Echo's sticky bombs from 30 down to 25. So when you look at this, they're basically scaling back the burst damage of Echo. A lot of people weren't too happy with the fact that Echo could essentially one-shot a character that had 200 HP in regards to using the alternate fire here. And they also increased the ultimate cost of the duplicate by 16%. So those are like the 2 major changes right now. I know, kind of looking at like first impressions, we were thinking, well, maybe they'll just scale back the ultimate generation when you have duplicate active, or, maybe something else. But this wasn't the only change that we saw, because there were a lot of gifs floating around in regards to Tracer, specifically when it came to her blink. And the dev team actually fixed a bug where blink in midair could allow Tracer to move slightly vertically upward. And I'll be honest, when I saw some of these highlights on Twitter or posted on, one of the Reddit threads, I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be the absolute worst feeling. Because not only do you have to worry about someone that has absolutely absurd burst damage from the high ground in Echo, now all of a sudden Tracer is getting a high ground advantage left and right. And it was like a worst case scenario if you are, say, like a support player out there. So I'm happy to see that the blink in regards to verticality was not actually something that was intended, and thank goodness for that.
Yeah, it really was not, the best thing. Like, Tracer's annoying enough. I don't want to fear Tracer from above. That's the last thing I want. Like Kobe from above. No. Hard pass on that. You were seeing some really wonky things. So, yeah, no, it's as far as Echo goes. I'm just gonna say, the nerf to Echo sticky bombs is needed because, let's be real, the rest of her kit is decent, but the sticky bombs were the all star, like, of the whole kit. Like, sticky bombs were ridiculous. Um, so definitely needed to do that. Maybe they need to nerf it a little more and maybe increase the cooldown a little too as well, because they're still going to be very powerful. Um, you basically have a time delayed 75 damage on something on like a shield while you can still keep attacking it. So that's still pretty crazy burst. The ultimate cost increased. That's fine, whatever. I have not really, like, I've seen a lot of gameplay with it. It doesn't seem that good.
Well, that's because a lot of people just would hop on the PTR, go into the practice range, and practice the ultimate under like these ideal controlled circumstances. It's completely
Uh-huh.
different from when you're actually using it within the game. Now, that being
Yeah.
said, there still are going to be situations where, let's say, you duplicate a tracer that you're able to, maybe get 2, 3 pulse bombs off at really the high end there, but I don't feel like it's going to be as oppressive as what people were really making it out to be, at least based off of their initial knee-jerk reactions on that front.
Yeah, when we saw the pros play with it, I think the thing I saw the most was they would just duplicate Rhine
Mm-hmm.
and hold up the shield. So basically, you got another barrier. They weren't going for shatters. They weren't doing any of that. They were just, you were using an ultimate to get a Reinhardt shield, which is good, but is it like? I mean, it's good in certain instances, but you're using an ultimate to get somebody else's basic ability.
My favorite thing about that in particular, though, is seeing how many DPS players completely whiff using Earthshatter.
Mm-hmm. They're horrible at it. Um. So yeah, people play test all these wonky things, but they're not going to happen. They're just not. Like, anyone in the world who imitates like Zarya or duplicates Zarya, you're an idiot. Let's just start off with that one right away.
Next,
You're not getting a graph.
you gotta ramp up not only your ult charge,
Yeah.
but also your actual energy. So it's basically like a twofer on that front. And really, I will say this: when it comes to just testing things in the practice range, you kind of have to compare that to, say, like simulation crafts, like you would in World of Warcraft. Sure, under ideal situations, not having to move, not having to deal with mechanics or anything like that, your numbers are going to be going through the roof. But once you start factoring all these other things into the equation, then all of a sudden there is massive fall off on that front. So just keep that in mind whenever you're seeing like the potency of some of these abilities in a controlled environment.
Yeah. in the training range, they're not shooting at you. So there's that. It's just, yeah, it's you kind of had the perfect analogy with the sim data for World of Warcraft. Like all that stuff is simulated that you're standing still, attacking a boss without moving, using the ideal rotation with the ideal gear. Like that is not likely. That's just not. So, this is kind of the same thing. You have 6 alts you could choose from, 5 if they're playing Echo. 2 you have to, and then you have to use it in the exact right spot. That's why you saw so many people just go with Rhine Shield, because it's the easiest one to use. So, yeah, it's I don't know. I don't know how I feel about her ultimate, but the rest of her kit is pretty good. So I'll be interested if they start to use her with more of a dive, because she is very good at diving. She can get behind enemy lines quicker than the majority and then dive on someone way quicker than most. So I think she's kind of set up for a good dive partner opposite like Tracer.
Well, in hindsight, Echo technically would be the only Tracer that you would have to deal with from above, potentially.
Mm-hmm.
since the bug fix with a blink. So
Yes.
Today is Thursday, and with that, we also have the new week starting in regards to the hero pools for competitive play. And once again, Ed, we have a lot of people that are not really happy with the direction that they took this week. And it seems like every week we are seeing some additional experiments going on with the ranked pool. This time they have opted to disable additional damage dealers. So this is really the first time since the hero pools were introduced where we have more than 4 heroes being removed from the rotation. And, looking at the field here, we have 1 tank, 4 DPS, and 1 support banned for the week. The tank out of the rotation being Diva. For DPS, they kind of targeted hit scan in particular. So we have no McCree, no Soldier 76, no Sombra, as well as no Widowmaker. And then for the support, we are not going to be seeing any Baptiste leading up to basically next Thursday. So, a lot of people looking at this are like, well, I'm just not going to play this week, especially those hit scan players. And, a lot of people are griping about it. 1 week, they banned 2 tank heroes, and then last week it was 2 supports. Now it's 4 damage heroes, but, luckily there's still like another, 15 in the pool that they could choose from. It's not like there's a shortage of options on that front, but it does make you wonder, all this hit scan being gone, maybe Ashe will actually be viable for a change. Maybe we'll see an increase of Pharah play, and because of that, maybe we'll see something like Torbjorn all of a sudden being more meta, trying to deal with something that is in the sky. Then, of course, you have to think, well, if Pharah's in, more than likely Mercy players are definitely going to be eyeing her this week. So it's going to be an interesting week on ladder. But man, am I tired of all the griping. Yes, they are experimenting. It's been changing week to week. But it definitely has given each week of competitive so far really an identity, which is what their goal was. They wanted each week to feel completely different than the last. And, I have to say, the dev team has definitely succeeded in that front.
Yeah, it's, I made this joke is first week, oh my god, I can't believe they banned 2 supports. Next week, oh my god, I can't believe they banned 2 tanks. The next one, oh my god, I can't believe they banned 4 DPS. At a certain point, it's not Blizzard doing this stuff screwed up. It's just the fans being whiny. Let's be real here. It's kind of what it is at this point. It's they either ban too many support, too many tanks, or too many DPS. Well, you know what? One of those has to be okay. Not all three can be wrong.
Right, and last I checked, when I do the math, even if you factor in that there are 4 damage heroes out of the rotation, that is still more options than both tank and support combined, even without a tank and a support being removed from the pool.
Mm-hmm. And people are like, oh my god, if they play Pharah, how are we going to counter her? There are still options. Okay? There are plenty of options. Yes, will she be more annoying? For sure. But you have other things. You have Ashes. You have Torbjorns. You have Hanzos even. I mean, Roadhog can hook her out of the sky.
Zenyatta.
Zenyatta can snipe out. Anna can sleep. Like, there are still options. You're just pissed off because you don't have the ideal options. And that annoys you. You know, the people who are like, oh my god, I can't play rank this week. Yeah. If you won't play ranked because your favorite hero is banned for a week, you're a one trick. And you're the reason that we have these rules. Learn to play other things.
I will say, I haven't done my placements yet on any account. But if I was going to do placements on damage, this is the week. Let me just be a Pharaoh OTP for
100%.
1 week. I wanna see how some of these hit scan players are going to handle a situation like this, where they're going to be on someone that, you know, might be their 4th or 5th option rather than one of their primary options. So I feel like you can cause a lot of havoc here.
You know who really gets shit on this week? Junkrat. Because, like, you did take out the best counters for Pharah, so you're going to see a lot of Pharahs. Well, what's a gigantic hard counter to Junkrat? Pharah. So Junkrat players are going to be like, ah, crap on a cracker. But go play something else. There's plenty of options.
Mm-hmm.
So
Until they
maybe
remove
you
them all.
Yeah. They're going to be like, they removed 10 DPS and 2 supports. How could they remove so many support players? Wait a second.
I still feel like at this point, okay, they keep upping the number. You know what? Let's just turn the dial all the way up, right? Let's ban 25 heroes next week and call it a day. You know?
They're not going to be happy.
6 heroes.
They're not going to be happy until they force goats on us. They're going to be like, DPS can now play as Zarya and Brigitte. Well, shit.
Mm-hmm.
We have goats again.
It'll basically be like Rhine, Zarya, Mei, Lucio, Brigitte. I don't even know who the other one would be. Maybe Reaper would probably be the best in that situation.
Yeah. Mei.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you still have Mei too. Right click Pharah out of the sky with that.
Yeah, Sniper Mei is actually pretty
No
good.
fall off. Yeah, no fall off on her icicle.
I can't believe you're actually campaigning to get people to play Mei.
I know. I feel dirty.
What has this world come to, Ed?
The whole world is going to shit.
Yep, and you're out here promoting people locking in Mei for competitive. That's how you know we are in dire straits in these times. And, you know, it has been really a weird week. A lot of emotions going on. You know, I feel like right now, you know, we're in a state of mourning because we're in these uncertain times over not only what's going on out there with the COVID-19, but also what's happening to our boy Sugar Free. Because unfortunately, Ed, we have to light a candle for another Academy team. So the Atlanta Academy have dropped out of this season of Contenders. And it was really a disappointing week in Contenders Trials for the team as they lost the match that they had and they failed to qualify for the second week of the competition. So this is actually the first season since ATL Academy started competing in Contenders, which was back in Contenders 2018 Season 3, that they're not going to be competing in. So this is really, honestly, a changing of the guard type moment in Contenders North America, as you have had ATL Academy, who have essentially finished in the top 2 of each of the 3 seasons that they played, one of which they did win the title for. And I know there's been, a little bit of drama in regards to their flex support Haku and a lot of fallout from that, which we never really brushed up on. But all the info is out there if you guys want to look into it on the Reddit thread. But they've also had some departures, like their DPS player Perfect leaving to join T1 over in Korea, who, in an odd twist of fate, went from being like the butt of the joke to all of a sudden winning Contenders in Korea for the week. So that was kind of an oddity as well. But we don't know what the status of Sugar Free is right now, and I'll be honest, like, I saw this, and that was the only thing I could think of. I was like, oh man, like, this is not a good feeling. These are uncertain times ahead, we are in murky waters, and we have no idea what is going on with our boy.
Yeah, it's... yeah, it is not cool. That's the only thing I really thought of. With all the call-ups and stuff that happened with Atlanta Academy, I honestly don't know who's off on the team anymore besides Sugar Free. Like, they had Funny Astro.
Mm-hmm.
He's with Philly. Gator and Hawk called up. Kodak called up. Sugar Free, no idea. And I forgot who the other DPS was. Saucy.
Yeah, they basically had Saucy, Sugar Free, Pika, Dons, and Karkar.
Yeah, where'd Karkar go?
Well, Karkar had come from, he was with Fusion University prior to that, but then he was kind of underage, and then he couldn't move to Korea because of that, and then he ended up on ATL Academy.
Okay. But yeah, no, it is sad. I mean, there's no way Sugar Free doesn't get signed by someone.
Mm-hmm.
My guess is he'll get signed to one of the bigger, like Sky Foxes, something like that. There's not many like actual tier 2 Contenders teams affiliated with the pros anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They're all kind of going down the shitter.
I want to say, at least on the NA side, there's only 2 teams left there.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, there's Uprising Academy, but Uprising Academy is not shelling out money for Sugar Free.
Yeah, and that's another team that's struggling in trials. So right now, if I'm not mistaken, the 2 Academy teams that are still in it, and I want to say Contenders was playing today, so I have not looked into that or seen any spoilers on that front. But the 2 ones that I saw that were still in at the time were Team Envy and Montreal Rebellion.
Okay. Yeah, Team Envy is the one that's probably, I would say, would stick around. I could see Sugar Free signing on with them. I don't know who they have on their roster right now. That's one thing, is I'm just not up to date as much as I usually am with Tier 2 because there hasn't really been any pro Overwatch. So, like, I haven't been watching, VODs and stuff like that to hear about a lot of these Tier 2. So, yeah, it's... Sugar Free is, 3 years out from being able to play? Right. So, yeah, we'll see if he makes it. But... Sugar Free, Sugar Dad, we want you both back in.
Yeah, hopefully he doesn't stray too far. Keep him.
He'll probably be like, I'm now gonna be the best pro Valiant, Valiant player. Damn it, we lost Sugar Free. Valorant. I'm gonna get that screwed up so much.
Well,
Calling it Valiant or Valorant.
Well, really quick, speaking of the Valiant, I don't even have this in the show notes, but I do know that they let go of some of their coaches this week.
I saw that.
Which kind of, like, came out of nowhere. So they removed Stoop and Reprise. And they were basically let go due to the current economic struggles. So, you know, this is kind of, like, obviously, it's weird times. So, like, investing in esports or having, like, this many people on payroll, given the circumstances, can be a very daunting task to kind of, like, stay ahead of the curve on that front. And, you know, like, the Valiant going into this season, we didn't have, like, the highest expectations due to the fact that they kind of, like, went the budget route. But now, all of a sudden, you aren't really working with a whole lot. You still have Packin 10, who is the head coach for the Valiant. And then I want to say the only other person that they have, at least on a coaching staff, is Goomba, who had been with the team since this past October. So that's a pretty small staff when you compare that to the rest of the Overwatch League at this point.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of knew the Valiant were strapped for cash a little bit coming into all this, so it's not that surprising. And we're seeing other changes too. It just, you know, it's just a sign of the weird ass times that we're in, is that people are getting let go. I mean, what was it? The new unemployment rate rose like 3.5 million in the past week.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just happening. Esports are not exempt from all of this. So it's, you know what, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw more of it. It's gonna happen sooner or later.
Yeah, especially with the organizations that are more strapped for cash than others. And, you know, like, even at the Tier 2 side, this is going to have heavy implications as well, because I was like, there's not a whole lot of money coming in on that front either, so definitely something to keep an eye on. Hopefully there won't be too many people having to kind of, like, go through the weeds, so to speak, here, but... No, we are in very uncertain times right now, so we might be seeing more of this in the coming weeks ahead until things really start to calm down and improve really across the globe.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see what happens, you know.
Outside of that, we also got our first look at the championship skin for the San Francisco Shock. So this was unveiled by Blizzard, and the name of this new cosmetic is Thunder Doomfist. And this is going to be available for a limited time run, starting on March 26th. So as of today, you can buy it up until April 9th. So to purchase the skin, you have to drop 200 League tokens, and I'm sure a lot of people are like, well, I don't have League tokens, so how do I get the skin? Well, guys, you're going to have to shell out some money. That is really your only option at this point. But we got a quote from the Overwatch senior concept artist, David Kane, who said, "The biggest inspiration for this skin was to create some kind of supernatural elemental being with a theme of volcanic chaos. He's molten lava inside a rock body, and we added a bit of championship feel with some gold and obsidian for his gauntlet." Now, I'll be honest, Ed, at first look at this skin, I was like, what the F does this have to do with the San Francisco Shock? Because when you compare this skin to what the London Spitfire had, which was the pilot fighter Winston skin, you could immediately look at that and know which team that skin would revolve around. I don't get the feeling with this one at all. Like, there's really no orange incorporated into the skin at all. It doesn't scream shock for me. It's just, well, it looks kind of like a villain, and the Shock have kind of painted themselves to be the villain because everyone is out to beat them since they're the champions. And that's basically where the buck stops. So, I don't know how you're feeling, but, like, sure, it's a cool looking skin, but nothing about it really makes me envision the Shock as a team.
Yeah, this looks nothing like this isn't the Shock. Like, first off, there's no orange in it, which is like the primary color how you determine if it's a Shock or not. Like, if you were showing this without knowing it was a Shock skin, there is zero chance you would guess that's what it's for. Like, I get like what they're trying to do, the thunder destructive thing. It just doesn't fit the San Francisco Shock. Like, it just doesn't. It doesn't have the color scheme or anything like that. It's a cool skin, but it's not a San Francisco Shock skin. And it's definitely not cool enough. Now, I do have some Overwatch League tokens stored up, but there's zero chance of me buying this skin. Like, zero. And I wouldn't recommend people shilling out $4.99 or whatever for it. Because it's just, there are better Doomfist skins, and this doesn't represent the Shock.
Yeah,
Shell out $4.99 and get the actual Shock Doomfist skin. That represents the Shock more. So.
Yeah, I can't believe they're trying to replace Doomfish. It's not gonna happen, guys. No matter how hard you try. Now, I will note, I do like the face design of this particular skin. It kind of reminds me of a combination, like, let's say they meld, like, Clayface from Batman with Baraka from Mortal Kombat. That's kind of like the vibes I got on that front because of how like the teeth look, and it also looks like it is made of clay on that front. Outside of that, I was just like, yeah, okay, like this. I mean, it looks cool, but it definitely reminds me more of something that we would get out of Halloween Terror than anything we'd be getting out of the Overwatch League. So hopefully there's not going to be this massive disconnect whenever they unveil Sinatra's Zarya skin for being the MVP. But, you know, for me personally, it's just, I'm confused. And I know a lot of other people are in a very similar position as well.
Yeah, I'm just baffled by it. That's really all. Just doesn't make any form of sense. So, boo. No mas.
Well, there's only one, so you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, until we get the Sinatra skin. Or the new Zarya skin. I wonder what weird animal they're gonna make him.
Well, it's gonna be an alien, obviously. It's not even gonna be an animal.
It's just gonna be an alien.
I mean, it would have to be an alien, right? Like, that's the Sinatra meme.
Oh, I don't know this. I'm unaware of this. I guess I'm really behind the times.
But what they should do, right? This will be a callback to, like, his Tracer days, is have a visual effect of being Discord orbed at all times.
That won't be abused at all.
No, absolutely not. So I don't know what they're gonna do for that skin. Obviously, it might still be a couple of weeks before we even get our first glimpse at that. But there's still a lot going on in the Overwatch leagues. They are kind of like making a transition to online play, which, you know, is expected to happen this weekend. But with that being said, there are still some hiccups in regards to the Overwatch League schedule that are going to have to get addressed in a matter of days, and that is due to the fact that we have two Overwatch League teams that are planning on relocating their base of operations to South Korea amid the COVID 19 pandemic. So, those two teams in question are both full Korean rosters, that, of course, being the Vancouver Titans as well as the London Spitfire. So it's been reported that London has canceled scrimmages for the next 2 months, and they are planning on playing from the Cloud9 facility in Seoul, South Korea. So as soon as these two teams relocate, that will bring the total number of teams in the Asian region, which does include the Chinese teams, up to 6. So there's going to be a lot of matches happening between those particular 6 teams. And, I have to say, like, I'm just like, well, why isn't Seoul doing the same? Like, if we're seeing all these Korean teams moving over. But regardless, I know right now, there's been an ongoing debate over, like, okay, how many matches should we play at one time? What are the matches that we are going to be getting? Is 8 in one day too many, even to kind of speed up these other teams that evening out, like the stand-ins, all of that stuff? There's a lot of moving parts. And, teams relocating in the midst of all of this is only going to further offset things that much more.
Yeah, I mean, let's be real. London and Vancouver have the right idea of getting the hell out of the United States. Because going back to South Korea, where it's going down and it's very much under control compared to the rest of the world in South Korea. Whereas I think USA Today was had more confirmed cases than China ever did.
Yeah, with New York kind of being the epicenter at this point.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where get the hell out of Dodge if you can. And those are teams that are all Korean players, and it just makes sense for them to go back there. But like you said, Seoul just doesn't make sense to me. I don't get why Seoul hasn't gone back. So it will be interesting to see how they handle this, because I mean, they were supposed to play. I thought they were supposed to play this week. Yeah, they're supposed to be playing Paris.
Mm-hmm.
So is London going to be playing in Seoul while Paris is in the U.S.?
Well, I guess it's more of a matter of when they're actually intending on relocating. Maybe it will be a situation where they won't move until Monday.
Yeah, which could be the case. And I think the league would kind of be like, listen, we're not going to have people playing in Korea versus people playing on the West Coast or East Coast or wherever. Like, that's just not going to happen. So it could be, and then they kind of adjust the schedule for the following week. Or they just don't have those matches, which, you know what? Wouldn't surprise anybody.
Who knows at this point, honestly. Obviously, this is the first in a lot of cases, including online play, which is set to start this week. Now, I will say, like, there were some exhibition matches that happened on the PTR, so we kind of got our first-hand look at what could be, with really the broadcasters or the casters really doing kind of like the hefty lifting on that front. Luckily, the Overwatch League observers have their at-home stations kind of set up. But I will say it is a huge undertaking to basically move from a studio environment to all of a sudden having all of this happening remotely at someone's home. So I don't know what the overall production value is going to be compared to what we're used to seeing, how smooth it would be. But I mean, let's be real, Ed. Like, we have seen quite a few hiccups, even in the studio setting this season so far. So Who knows? Like, maybe this is a better call-in, so to speak. Maybe we won't really be able to notice any sort of difference on the production side. Either way, it's very reminiscent of kind of like going back to the weekly formats that we would see in, say, like a Gosu Gamers or like the Beat Invitational, things of that nature.
I I don't share your optimism that we may not be able to tell the production issues because, well, we've seen lots of production issues when there hasn't been COVID-19 to deal with and everyone was in the same room.
Well, it's more so there's been so many that maybe there's a chance that maybe it will be less apparent at this point. Who knows? Like, I'm not expecting everything to be smooth sailing regardless of current conditions.
You're going to get worse play by play. That's going to happen. Because, like, it's just you had the two casters in different locations trying to cast the game together.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, even on this podcast, you have to read the other person to know, like, when to interject, when not to, when you need to start talking, or and so on and so forth. They're going to have to do that via like Skype, like us, but then also in the same time be watching like 3 different camera angles of the matches. And that's just not something you can do. So there's going to be a lot of hiccups in regards to that. The cutaways are probably going to be worse than normal because you're going to have those delays. You're not going to have all right, we have them here. They just have to mention something to them, and then we'll be on our way. No, these people are different locations. There's going to be a lot of production issues, I think. But we're used to it by now with Overwatch League.
So, do you feel that there will be more or less crunch time?
More.
And probably more overtalk as well.
Yes. I'm wondering what they do for halftime. Because I can't throw it back to the desk. Maybe they just don't have really a halftime.
It's so hard to say because when you look at the schedule, and there are 8 games on Saturday and Sunday, that is a huge undertaking, to say the least. So, who knows what the split is going to be like? Who knows if they're going to have like a set production team for, say, each block, so to speak? So, like, obviously, we have the Chinese teams in one block, then some of the NA teams in the second block, if they're going to do it like that, or if they're just going to try to marathon through it, which would be an absolutely terrible idea. Because when we look at the schedule this week, we start games on Saturday at 1 a.m. Pacific time for the Chinese teams, and that block is 1 a.m. Pacific time, 3 a.m. Pacific time, and then we jump to our game starting at 11 a.m. Pacific time, and then we have games at 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9 p.m. Pacific time. That is a lot condensed into one day. And I don't know what the split is going to be, because even if you do split it off in blocks, that's still an uneven number of games between the 2 blocks at that point as well, because there's only 2 Chinese games, and then you have games from 11 to 7. Or 9, in this case, in the other block. It's just... This is going to be a long weekend, a lot of matches to watch, and on paper, I just look at this and I was like, there's absolutely no flipping way I'm going to be able to watch everything. If anything, I'll be like, okay, we haven't seen the Charge, we haven't seen the Dragons, we haven't seen Hunter, Spark. I'll only be watching those games, and then even that is almost feeling like a little bit of of a job at times as well.
Mhm.
So I don't know how I'm going to approach this weekend. It's a lot to think about. But at least we're getting to see some of these specific teams play in that we just haven't been able to see as of yet this season. So at least it's going to be refreshing in that regard, but it's still a lot to take in as an Overwatch League fan.
Yeah, there's no way you can watch all these. It's just not feasible because, like you said, they go till the last match on Saturdays at 9 p.m. Well, the first match on Sundays at 1 a.m. So, the last match on Saturday is going to go till 10:30, 10:45, 11. Then you have new matches starting up 2 hours later.
Yeah, let's
Like,
even being optimistic, let's say, okay, we're going to catch everything after the fact.
no.
Even if you say the VODs are going to be an hour, that is still
Mhm.
16 hours worth of content to cycle through. There's
Yeah.
no way.
No. And so, like, what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to cherry pick certain games.
Mhm.
There's probably about 4 or 5 games that I'd want to watch, and that's really about it. The rest of them, I'll just see what the finals were, maybe look at the stats. But there's like 4 or 5 games that I actually want to watch, and I'll probably try and watch those, but probably not because a
Mhm.
lot of them are like they would all have to be on VOD, most of them, because like I want to see the Chinese teams, and I'm not getting up at 3 a.m. to watch
What?
you
Why
know
not?
the hunters versus the
It's
dragons.
basically like
Just,
you were watching Contenders Korea for
yeah, I
Runaway,
never
you
did
know?
that. Never did that. So yeah, I'm gonna cherry pick some games here for sure.
Yeah, so rather than doing a breakdown of everything that is going on this weekend, let's at least highlight a couple for each day that we're looking forward to.
Okay.
So, looking at the 8 games on Saturday, and I'm gonna go with one that doesn't consist of the China or Pacific region. A game that I'm looking forward to is actually that Saturday game at 1 p.m. Pacific time between the Paris Eternal and the London Spitfire. Primarily for 2 reasons. One, this is a battle for EU supremacy. Two, our ongoing bet against London and Boston, where, London has looked a lot better than we were honestly both expecting. And, Paris is kind of in a very similar position. We weren't expecting them to level up as quickly as they did, even when you factor in Hanbin becoming of age fairly early on in the season. We thought like it was going to be a slow start for them, and it really hasn't been the case. So this is going to be a very interesting battle, a different clash of styles.
Mm-hmm.
And for me personally, you look at both of the main support players between Sanguinar as well as FD God, who have been absolutely phenomenal on the Lucio. And Lucio's not going to be active this weekend due to the hero ban, so I want to see what adjustments these teams are going to make on that front. So it's really exciting where we have 2 teams that are definitely on a different level than what we were anticipating clashing. So, Paris has looked like an elite team. London maybe more middle of the pack. I want to see if London can pull this one off here.
Yeah. That is not one of the 4 to 5 I was going to cherry pick. One I was going to cherry pick was the game after that,
Mm-hmm.
and that is New York Excelsior versus the Atlanta Reign. Just because they kind of have that rivalry between them, where as much as Atlanta sucked at times last year, they could always beat New York. Uh, so I kind of want to see that. We haven't seen a whole lot of Atlanta. We've seen a lot of New York. So I'm very interested to see how that goes out, especially with these hero change. I want to see what New York does with their DPS lineup, and I want to know what Atlanta does with their tank lineup and their DPS lineup. So It's going to be an interesting game. Honestly, none of the Chinese games on Saturday intrigue me all that much. The Chinese games on Sunday both are very intriguing. I like them way more than the Saturday games.
Mm-hmm.
So, are there any other Saturday games?
For me personally,
I know what you're picking.
I have to go with the Dynasty game.
Yeah.
And I will say this, thank God, right? Like, thank God we don't open the season against the Shock. That changed. And I was like,
Mhm.
whew, sigh of relief, because it was penciled in to be Dynasty versus Shock and Dynasty versus the Gladiators. And I was like, oh man, this is going to be a rough start of the season for us. So we're kind of like going back to the inaugural season for the Dynasty as they're opening up their season against the Dallas Fuel. So obviously a lot of questions about the Dynasty right now when you factor in the former parts of the London Spitfire Championship team. Still very high expectations set on the Dynasty being the only team out of Korea on that front. And really, like, I want to see how Profit, or Profits in this case, is going to do as a DPS duo. Like, I'm really anxious. I feel like they work off of one another great, but knowing we're probably going to be seeing McCree May again, we're probably going to see Illicit over Fitz at this point, but I don't know. And if Profit is on Hitscan and not on, like, say, Tracer or Hanzo, I honestly do not know what to expect from him. So there's a lot of questions I have about this team, whether it is who's starting on the main tank position between Marvel and Chester, if Badoshin is even going to start over a creative. There's so many unknowns right now, and that's going to be a very interesting case study for a lot of these teams that we haven't seen as of yet, because there's been a lot of experimentation going on across the league at this point, even on teams that we thought might have been more stable in regards to who we would consider to be the starting six.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Seoul is one that I definitely want to see, but this is another instance where I would, if I had to choose, I'd rather see their Sunday matchup than their Saturday matchup.
Right.
It's a much better matchup, I think, because Dallas Fuel still are not impressing all that much. So I wanted to be like, oh yeah, we really want to see Seoul, but then I'm like, not on Saturday. I want to see their Sunday. Sunday has the much better matchups in my mind. But the only other one I would say on Saturday that would really kind of draw me in is the Shock versus Gladiators.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's two of the top teams in the league facing off, and we haven't seen them in forever. I think they've only each played once. I think they've each only played once. So I just kind of want to see how that goes. You have no idea who the Shock are going to be playing. Like, who's going to be in the lineup? No idea.
Well, here's the interesting thing too. Since this is online only, there's a higher chance that we would get to see Ons coming in on Hitscan.
Oh yeah, I forgot that he was like in Visa Hell, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you really want your Widowmaker playing from South Korea ping though?
That is a fair point.
I don't know. I don't know if that'd be the best.
I mean, yes, we did see exhibition matches. He did play in those, as did basically everyone on the rosters, and he was still popping the F off. So who knows, honestly.
Yeah. But yeah, and then I want to see how the best support duo do in the league, and how Space is playing, and who the main tank is going to be for the Gladiators.
As long as they don't put the support line on the tank line like they did this past weekend.
Yeah. So, but that's really it for me about Saturday. I think the Sunday's the big day for me.
Yeah, a lot of really interesting matches, a couple of which look like absolute stomps. I'm looking at you, New York versus Boston. And, there's there's another, like, California Cup type game between a Valiant and a Shock, but I'm not expecting too much of a competition on that front. But these specific matches in China both really have my attention. So we have the Chengdu Hunters going up against the Shanghai Dragons to start things off at 1 a.m. Pacific time. Again, definitely not waking up at 3 a.m. Central time in order to watch this. I'm gonna catch it after work on VOD. But, Hunters kind of moderate expectations just because of the amount of fallout that we kind of saw from them with the introduction of 222. Shanghai is entering with some pretty lofty expectations from a lot of people. A lot of the community members have had them, top 6, top 8, some even as high as top 4 or 5. And I want to know, like, is Fleta going to start on this team? Are we gonna see more deadlifts? And if he is in, who's he gonna get paired with on this team? And then you have the Hunters who, like, a lot of people are expecting maybe some wreck and ball. Are they gonna go back to kind of like one trick and that? Are we going to see something completely different? We don't know, but the Hunters are always one of the most entertaining teams to watch. And on paper, a lot of people might consider this to be more one-sided in the Dragons' favor. But you definitely can't take anything away from the Hunters because this is a team who have always been able to challenge the best teams in the league. So no matter what, I don't think this is going to be an absolute stomp on either side. The Hunters are definitely going to throw some very, off-looking things in regards to the meta. And if that's the case, like, we keep hearing about how there's distinct metas based on the region. Are we actually going to get to see that this weekend with the China teams in action? I want to see what they're doing and how it compares to what we had seen in the weeks prior.
Yeah. I think the big thing for me with the Hunters versus Dragons game is honestly, what the hell do we see out of Leave? That's probably the biggest takeaway I'm gonna have for this matchup because Leave is one of the more highly regarded prospects to come out in a long time. He's not quite on Sparkle level, but he's probably just a step below Sparkle level. So I'm definitely interested to see what he does there. I'm also interested to see what they do with their support lineup. Because, they have Kyle and Yvitel and stuff like that, but, they bring in Molly and Linksa, and it's like, are you not going to start them? Yeah, they were the LG Hua support team that, wasn't that bad. So do you bring them into play, or what are you going to do there? And then what do you do with the tanks? Like, you have a man, is he actually going to play? Like, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Shanghai is a little bit more clear cut, I think, in the fact that you're going to get like, Void is going to be your off tank over Gaguri. I don't know who's going to start over Stand One or Fearless. But you have Lei Zhigong as your support, so that you're set there. But is Fleta going to start at DPS? Maybe, maybe not. But if he doesn't start, he'll still play. There's no way he won't play. So yeah, it'll be interesting. That should be a good game. I'm excited for that one.
Yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do with their DPS rotation. I would think on paper, like you would imagine DM probably being the McCree. Maybe Fleta takes up projectile for the May. That seems like the most likely out of like the 4 DPS or 5 DPS they have, because well, technically it would be 4, because I don't expect Dia to play on a 2-way contract. But you never know at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, the other Chinese matchup is something that I'm also very much looking forward to. Not so much from the Spark, just because.
Well, there's less moving parts there.
Yeah, exactly. You're basically getting the same team as you had last year. Like you have Rhea and Gushue as your tanks. Okay, most likely it's going to be Bebe and IDK as your supports. Most likely. And then you have Godsby, and then it's, I guess it's a question of who might be your second DPS between Adora, Bazi, Sassen, or Otto. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
None of them are like great options. So it's kind of like who's going to be the second DPS for the Gladiator.
Kind of, but when you really think about it, someone on that DPS line is going to have to step up, because that was always the biggest question mark on that team this past season. You got very consistent on the front line and on the back line, but the DPS lineup was an absolute shitstorm.
Yep. I couldn't agree more. But they're going up against one of the up and coming, like the late bloomers last year, in the Charge, because Nero really kind of came on late. They went out and got Krong to start for them. They got Neptuno coming over from Philly. It's one team that I think people are very interested to see how they perform. So yeah, and like, is Neptuno going to start, or did they just bring him in as a backup to be, the veteran presence? Is Shu's probably going to start? So yeah, it's definitely Krong and Rio are going to start because they're the only tanks on the team. But yeah, it's definitely, I like this matchup better than the matchup that they have on Saturday.
And I will say, like, the DPS rotation for the Charge last year were definitely slow to get out of the gate. Eileen was a little shaky at times. I thought we felt like we had a little bit more consistency with Happy in the rotation. So I mean, if I had to guess, like, I would imagine it would be Happy and Nero for the DPS rotation for them this week. But with Lucio out, I think you can make more of a case for Neptuno getting the nod over Chara. Maybe we get to see a little bit of Nero Farah, maybe? Who knows? But, not having Lucio can lead to a lot of interesting things this week, and I don't know which direction teams are going to take with the support line not having that speed boost readily available for them. Now, some of the other matches on Sunday, like, I'm just like, I mean, it looks okay on paper. I would say there's probably more story in Dynasty versus the Gladiators, because you got the whole Prophet versus Birdring aspect of that particular match. Like, was Birdring always the second fiddle on the DPS rotation? I think we already know the answer to that, but we're going to find out firsthand, and I just hope we get Prophet tactical crouching on Birdring in that series, and if we don't get that, my disappointment will be immeasurable.
Oh, 100%. I think, yeah, the Soul Gladiators game is going to be a really good game. I will not be able to watch this one live, and that sucks. Because, it's 11 p.m. my time, and I work Monday morning. I work from home, but I still have to get up and be present for work. But yeah, I'm interested to see how this one goes, because I don't think Soul has that much of a challenge on Saturday with Dallas. But I think they have a much bigger challenge on Sunday with the Gladiators. So I'm interested to see. Now, it could just be Soul just stomps everyone, which I would not be shocked at. So it'll be interesting to see that. The Birdring Prophet. If Birdring wrecks Prophet, I will laugh so much. Like Birdring teabags or tactical crouches Prophet, that would be awesome. So
All I know is people are going to be keeping score.
I'm sure they will. We'll make Booger do it. He's going to be watching every matchup, he said. Because that's healthy.
Good luck. And Godspeed.
The only other game on Sunday that I really want to watch is not because it's a great matchup, but I want to see my boy. I want to see some fissure. I want to see the Titans versus the Fuel. We got to see the Titans once, and it wasn't enough.
Hoxel versus Decay. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, there's gonna be some Genji in there, guaranteed, from both squads. So I really want to see Fissure play, just because I love watching Fissure play. He's so good.
Right on.
The rest of them are just meh.
So good luck to anyone who's trying to catch everything this weekend. A lot of games, 8 games both days, 16 in games total. That is a lot of, honestly, anything to watch, if we're being honest here. So 16 games, pretty big undertaking. Hopefully the at-home setups in regards to the observers is gonna run decently. Who the F knows, though? It might be an absolute crapshoot. But it seems like they're feeling confident in the progress that they have made since the online matches were initially announced. Obviously, it was kind of like on a 1-week delay due to various reasons, and now more at-home measures being taken. But I'm just happy to see the Overwatch League back, and hopefully we'll have some pretty good games this weekend, just based on the fact that there are 16 games, so by definition, you should have a higher probability of having at least a couple of good matches.
You have the higher probability of non-shit games. So, yeah, no, we're going to get some good ones. And when we go over them this next week, I'll flat out tell you people, we are not going over every single game this week. Right. And the next weekend has just as many games, and we're not going to go through all of those either. We're going to cherry pick them just like we did this week for the foreseeable future.
Mm-hmm.
So.
All right, Ed. Well, that basically covers everything that has been going on this past week. So let's go ahead and close out the show for tonight. So if you guys want to help us out, please do us a big favor. Head on over to iTunes and write us a review. Let us know how we're doing. We are always looking for ways to improve the show to make for a better listening experience for you. If you want to find additional Overwatch-related content, and let's be honest, a lot of us are at home. You're probably looking for more podcasts to listen to. What better way to find more Overwatch content than by checking out Overwatch Recall on our website, which is our podcast directory, and then every Sunday night, Monday afternoon, depending on the week, we do the weekly recall, which has an episodic listing of that prior week's content across the Overwatch scene. And if you are looking to, support our network directly, consider checking out our Patreon page at patreon.com/OWL Network. We do have tiers starting at just $1 a month. And you too could join the likes of our Master and above patrons in Daniel, Owl, Kesha, Agent Life, and 044 in helping our network grow. So Ed, why don't you go ahead and let our listeners know how they can contact our show as well as ourselves.
All right, so you can reach us through email at hndoverwatch@gmail.com. We are on Twitter, and that's over at hndoverwatch. We do have a website where we post our stuff at owlnshow.com. We do have a YouTube channel at youtube.com/Overwatch League Network, where we post videos. Spider said he's working on an Echo one coming up. Totem posted Hearthstone one today.
Well, that was unlisted, but if people want to check
Oh,
out my first game as Illidan, I mean, I could make it public.
yeah. We are over on Discord at discord.me/OWN show. I assume this will be picking up a little bit since there's actually games this weekend. We are streaming live on Twitch at twitch.tv/OWN show. We are Twitch affiliates, so help support the show by subscribing to our channel and earn our network emoticon. We do stream pretty regularly, as Overwatch League Network is Mondays at 7 p.m. Pacific. OWL by the Numbers airs Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific when there's actually games to talk about. Heroes Never Died. This show airs Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Pacific. You can follow me personally on Twitter at EdnarOverwatch or on Twitch over at twitch.tv/Edinar. Totem, where can they find you at?
Well, I am also on Twitter. That would be at TotallyDrunkCTR. And when I stream on Twitch, that will be at twitch.tv/TotallyDrunk. So just a quick update in regards to like the shows. OWL by the Numbers, hopefully we'll be back next week. Obviously, with everything moving online for the Overwatch League, there's been a couple of hiccups for the platforms. So hopefully this will be the week everything kind of gets hammered out on that front. So we might be back next Tuesday. And also next Tuesday, you can find me guesting on the RNG segment of Realm Maintenance, which is hosted by our good friend Ro, who does like the overall Blizzard podcast directory on that front. And there's also an interview with one of my mentors, Coltrane, as well as Shoeboots from Azeroth Public Radio. So that will drop Tuesday. Go check that out. That was a ton of fun. And always good to sit down and catch up with Ro as well. But with that being said, guys, I do want to thank you again for joining us for another episode of Heroes Never Die. This has been episode 203. Don't forget to retweet our pinned tweet on our Twitter for the H&D 200 giveaway. And we will see you guys back next week. Have a good night.
Peace out, y'all.